with Z. My name is Zamil Solanki, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you again. And if you're watching, definitely show me some love. Comment in the comment section below, give me a like or whatever. Show me that you're watching. But if you are jumping on as well, even just shout out and just say hi in the comments section. And that way I actually get to see and interact with you. But if you are watching the replay as well, be sure to comment in the comment section, because I really love to actually interact with each and every one of you. And I do appreciate that not all of us can jump on and have a cuppa with me at this point in time. So if you haven't got your drink yet, go and grab that. And yeah, we'll kick off this morning. If you are just joining us for the first time today as well, definitely do jump on and comment throughout the chat, because at the end of the day, this is designed to be as interactive as possible. And the way in which I can interact with each and every one of you is through the chat. So if you are jumping on and would have any questions or anything like that, this is what we're here for this morning and every morning during the week. But we are actually, and getting closer to that Friday now, we are actually exclusively in the Limitless group on Fridays as well. So yeah. Now, today's topic: what did your last check-in actually look like? And I don't know if you saw the cover image that I put up with, I guess, the boss and the megaphone and chasing after his team and their responses and their reactions to that. But when we look at the word check-in, when we look at the word check-in within our businesses, or even in our personal lives, our check-ins in our relationships, sometimes they're often misconstrued to be, are you checking in on me or you're checking up on me? And those two words can mean totally different things, because at the end of the day, if we're getting the perception that someone else is checking in on us, that might be from a place of safety, from a place of love. But if we get the feeling that they are checking up on us, then that can actually be those can start to generate those feelings of insecurity, of distrust, of rebellion, and also really start to damage the culture within our business, in our own health entrepreneurial journeys, but also with those around us. And it's really important that we look at that distinction, because at the end of the day, as health entrepreneurs, we want to ensure that our team are performing, but our team are also capable to perform based on any challenges or obstacles that they might be facing. And when we look at a check-in process, when we look at, I guess, the purpose of checking in is to really understand and to actually provide an, I guess, an opportunity for two-way communication, for two-way dialogue. And when that check-in starts to become a process where we are evaluating performance, where we are giving feedback, where we are critiquing someone else's work, then that process very quickly starts to become quite one-sided. And as a result of that, when we do look at that check-in process, and when we do look at that, I guess, that check-in process, and really start to consider what that means for us and what the purpose of that actually looks like, and why we are actually undertaking that check-in process. If it is to critique and evaluate performance and really, I guess, provide feedback from, say, a mentor, a business owner, a coach, and even, like, say, Raksha's jumped on this morning. Good morning, Raksha. All the way from the US. So it's a pleasure to be on with you this morning, and I hope you're keeping well. So she's given the example of CrossFit. You know, when we look at coaches and I guess them imparting their wisdom onto athletes and other students within their business, if we're using the check-in process to evaluate performance rather than to check in and seek feedback, then we're not actually checking in. We are using this opportunity and changing the purpose of a check-in to actually do a performance appraisal. And as a result of that distinction, what comes up to a team member, to an employee, to a friend, to a family, when we perceive ourselves to be evaluated based on our performance, our egos can start to come to play. We might become a little bit more on guard. We might start to actually take a step back and actually reserve ourselves to actually not step up and perform in fear that we are actually going to be critiqued and evaluated even more. And so that's where the danger really lies, is that if we are using the check-in process to really critique performance rather than to debrief, to understand and to seek feedback from those around us, then we are demolishing the opportunities from the simple process of checking in. And the purpose of checking in is to develop a level of rapport and to create an opportunity for open and honest communication. And if we are just using it to evaluate performance, we are then losing that trust with our team, with those around us, and ultimately, we are not going to get that open and honest communication a really good culture thrives on and requires. And so, what does a check in process look like and need? Well, yeah, coming back to that, it needs levels of open and honest communication. It needs levels of trust, but it also needs levels of clarity and actual priority as well. It also needs frequency. Checking in infrequently, checking in randomly doesn't have the same levels of trust, doesn't have those same levels of buy-in, because on the receiving end of that check-in, we immediately trigger a response that goes, well, why are you asking me that? Why are you actually, oh, what's prompted this check-in? Why all of a sudden are you asking me these questions? And as a result, our egos start to flare up. We then start to immediately, even before that conversation might even engage, our ego is there to protect us. And as a result, you may have noticed it in your own teams or in environments around you where you've gone to check in, but all of a sudden they've postured, they've become on guard, can notice their breath changing. And as a result, they're actually then getting into a heightened state where the fight or flight reflexes start to hit in. And it's really interesting when we look at that. And I guess at the end of the day, if we're coming in with genuine reasons and genuine purposes to perform a check in, but if we haven't communicated the intent, then we're immediately triggering a fight or flight response. And so by creating frequency, ensuring that you're doing it with an element of safety and you're framing around safety with check-in, you're seeking permission to give feedback if you want to give feedback, because at the end of the day, if you've asked somebody, hey, do you mind if I give you some feedback, and they turn around and go, yes, please, you can give me some feedback, and then they don't like the feedback that they've received, and then their ego starts to blame, deflect, judge, whatever, then all of a sudden it's turned into a negative interaction. Well, you can pause and go, well, wait a minute, you've given me permission to do this. You've given permission to give you some constructive criticism. So what is now triggering these emotions? Where are these emotions coming from? Starting to really deep dive and explore and start to break down those egotistical barriers, because at the end of the day, we all have an ego. And if you don't think you have an ego, that voice in your head telling you right now that you don't have an ego is your ego. And when we use the check-in process, and when we are using a check-in process, it's really important to recognize those signs and symptoms of the ego. And by doing so, we can then change tact, change our frame, recognize when signs and symptoms of the ego start to come to play, and really look at strategic ways to break down those barriers, but to also ask really good questions to help ensure that we can diffuse any potential situations where that ego might really come out to play. And so my question to you is, what does your check-in process actually look like? How are you actually using it? How are you actually using it? And as a result of that, what processes and systems are you employing to actually make sure that you are using it, that you are actually using it effectively and efficiently? And that's so true. That's so true, Raksha. When we look at the process of check in for a lot of people and the interpretation of that, despite the words, can mean two different things. And so it's really important to frame up and understand and communicate the intent of the check in and what it's about, creating those elements of psychological safety to ensure that whatever the purpose of that check in is actually fulfilled. By having frequency and regularity to it, it doesn't become left field and unexpected, but creates levels of trust and ensures that that through that trust there's open and honest communication. Because if checking in and if seeking feedback and giving feedback, the only way to do that constructively is through open and honest communication. And so, are you using a debrief process? Now, we've covered off the debrief process before. Are you performing daily huddles? Are you having regular catch ups and meetings? Is there a formality to it or an informality to it? Is there something that you do quite quickly and on the fly? And is there a designated time slot that you're doing each day, each week? And at the end of the day, are you prioritizing it as a leader, as a health entrepreneur in your business or in your own lives? Are you prioritizing it? In business, are you then prioritizing that time with your patients and your customers to check in with them regularly to ensure that you're maintaining levels of open and honest communication? And whether or not that check-in process is through face-to-face, through email, through telehealth, whatever that might look like. And in your personal lives, on your own health entrepreneur journey, what does that look like between your own friends and family? So that's my question to you, is what does your last check-in actually look like? And what changes can you make moving forward to ensure that you're creating a safe space, to ensure that the meaning of check-in is actually interpreted as such, and that you are then getting the best out of your team and the best out of yourselves through open and honest communication. So big shout out once again to the Limitless Network. I did touch on them at the start. This is our exclusive group for health entrepreneurs. But like I've always said, you don't have to be a business owner to join this group. You could be just a person that values health. You could be watching this right now and looking at something going, yeah, well, health is pretty important to me. And this is a safe space and a peer-supported network and community to help improve the lives of not only ourselves, but each other, and to help along our entrepreneurial journey, whether the entrepreneurship within us is in a business or whether it's for our own health and well-being. So I invite you, not only you, but your loved ones, your family, your friends, to join this group. Because like I'm mentioning before, if each of us told one, two, or even three others about this group that really values their health, as you can see within this group, I've brought my family on the journey. So who else in your family, who else in your friends values health? Bring them on the journey with you, and together you can achieve even greater success, because we all know that we're a product of our environment and we are herd animals. And by having a community around us that supports our own health journey and our health entrepreneurial goals, we can then get even greater success. So that's it from me today. It's been an absolute pleasure joining each and every one of you. And like I said at the start, if you are watching the replay, please drop any questions or comments in the comment section below. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for another episode of Tea with Z. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Cheers now.